Call the meeting to order. Go all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, can we have a roll call?
Wonder Jim?
Here.
Van Eck? Here. Steffes?
Here.
Gardine here. Campbell?
Here.
Dahan?
Here.
Highboard?
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Please note, as a courtesy to the members of the audience and the Board of Education, please silence your cell phone. The public will only be able to speak during public comment if signed up. Do we have any public comment? I don't see anybody, man. That's a no. All right. First item is the approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Support.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? Motion passes. Reports agenda. Board members report. We'll start with Joe.
I have nothing tonight.
All right.
Keep her short.
All right. Good. Amy.
I actually attended a conference on the use of AI in higher education, but there were lots of takeaways about AI and its use in education that I think are going to be very relevant to secondary schools. So I learned a lot. It was, exciting, but also a little bit concerning. But I'm happy to share some resources that I got. They were all quite helpful in how do you address it, particularly when you have students who are submitting work using AI, whereas you as the instructor knows it was done with AI, but it gets really difficult with academic integrity. So I got some really good recommendations on how to handle that. So I've been doing that, and my kids have been enjoying the various camps and activities through community ed. They're definitely filling up their schedule with that, so we've been doing that.
Good. Good. Thank you. Bob.
No report.
All right. Thank you. Sally.
I had an opportunity to have a great conversation with a former student of Grandville Schools. She graduated last year. She was in the ELL department, and she just has secured 2 things. She's going to community college, and she's got a job at a daycare center, which is the area that she would like to work in eventually. And so it's just a great success for our district because she just made such huge strides when she was here at Grandville Schools, and I'm just really proud of her. Then had a chance to spend a week at the Outer Banks with my youngest daughter, her family, and a bunch of friends, and had a lot of time in the surf and sun, and it was a lot of fun, and have been enjoying reading numerous books this summer. Yeah, so
Good.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. Ma'am, how about you got?
I'm good. From the Parks and Recreation Board, Police in the Park starts in July, so it's every single Wednesday. There are 5 Wednesdays in July, and those go from 1 to 2:30. You can look at the Parks and Recreation Facebook page, or you can look at the Police Department's page for Grandville, and they do an excellent job. All the kids come. The Parks and Recs Department donates some money so that they can give kids different prizes for coming. They'll have special visitors, like they've had the mascots from the Whitecaps to the Rise to it's just very fun. They do a really nice job of bringing all the kids together. They had their cadets there last year, and oh my gosh, those kids were all over them. It was really fun. Summer football, hockey, cross country, lacrosse, everything it's amazing how hard these kids work. It's fun to watch. There are several just involved for us. There's a lacrosse tournament. There are a couple lacrosse tournaments. There's a hockey showcase this summer. Football is working so hard. Cross country does a lot of work in the summer. And mentioning hockey, we have our 50th year this year, so we're hoping to make it super special. We're looking for different, if you have any contacts, our booster board is really looking for an alumni kind of a database so that we can bring people in. It's kind of interesting because we'll also be bringing people in from the other Bulldogs at Byron Center since we played with them until we split. So that's kind of an exciting, fun initiative that we're going to see all year from the hockey team. And just going to a lot of open houses, which is so much fun. Well, always good food. I got leftover kielbasa from one, which was awesome. So, yeah, so summer has summered. It's starting.
Thank you.
Yep.
Greg?
Not a whole lot, just attending open houses like Amy, several of those. Good to see kids from the past years too, the older siblings and friends of theirs. The pickleball, just mentioning the Parks and Rec, it's awesome. Like Grandville has the 4 pickleball courts. We've been playing with my boys in the evenings a couple times, and it's crazy how busy those are. Like, all 6 courts are full at 5:30 usually, and sometimes you gotta wait, but they get a lot of use and they're really nice compared to a lot of the places that I've been. So that's pretty cool. Just Amy and I were talking before the meeting, like just as an FYI for people, this is the 50th year of hockey, but it's our 100th year of football would have been 23, and we didn't really realize it until we started looking. Like Coach Stiegel asked my son to look back into conference championships and stuff like that, but he figured out that 1923 was the first year that Grandville had a football team. So that's pretty cool. If you see the football right now, their workout shirt says established 1923. So
I think there's a picture out here.
it's pretty cool that
First
it's
team.
been around that long. And then both my boys are coaching football tonight with the high school camp, and it's cool to hear like Jason's son and then Carter Brucker, the kids that they graduate that are helping to coach the younger kids that are coming up. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that's all I've got.
Good, thank you. Yeah, for myself, obviously, happy belated Father's Day to the guys here and to those that serve as a father figure and fill in for that. So congratulations to you guys. It's a lot of work, as you know, right? And it's great to have your moms and your wives there with you, but there's a lot of work that the guys do too. So congrats to you guys and happy Father's Day belated. For myself, open houses, right? Been a lot of those the last couple of weeks. So it's great to see the kids and get a chance to celebrate them and all their accomplishments over the last 13 years or so here within the district. So really cool to see and to celebrate with them as they take their next steps. Trying to think here, anything else? Oh, and congrats to the baseball team on their run. They did a nice job. I think they just wrapped up, when was it, last week? Or are they?
Valley.
Yeah.
Grand Valley, right? Yeah,
Played
okay.
Nelsonville.
Yeah. So they had a nice run, it sounded like? Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They had a nice run.
Yeah, so congrats to that team and for all their success. And that's really all I have at this point. So
Okay.
on to you, sir.
You bet. Thank you. Gearing up for a great 25-26 school year. Working on staffing. We have a TA on contracts that will be presented tonight. Election resolutions brought to you tonight. So we've been working on a lot of that stuff. Looking at 25-26, our emphasis is on teacher and student clarity and ensuring a guaranteed and viable curriculum, which I think I mentioned to you in the board update. Excited about the year ahead. I don't know if you know this, but we only have 2 more board meetings before school starts. So we're getting there. So I know you said summer's beginning.
Summer.
I think we're well into summer, and it'll be here before you know it. And I'm excited because I love that time of year. It's my favorite. So that's all I have.
All right, good, thank you. Any old business?
No old business.
All right. On to the consent action agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
All those in favor?
Yes.
Opposed? It passes. Regular action agenda. 5A, the sinking fund, restoration and operating millage election resolution. It is recommended the Board of Education approve the attached resolution, which will place an operating millage renewal levy and a sinking fund millage restoration levy on the ballot before the electors at a special election to be held Tuesday, November 4th of 2025. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, so gave you some information in your board packet, and we've been talking about these tonight. We're focusing on the operating millage renewal, and that is a true renewal in that it stays exactly the same. Just to help people remember, it's a non-homestead properties only. It's a renewal millage rates that are currently in place, as we mentioned. The state of Michigan requires us to go for an operational millage as part of the funding we receive from them. So we have to do that. It's not something we choose to do to get our full foundation allowance. This again is a request of 19 mills. You can only levy no more than 18 mills, but that 19 helps us if there is a rollback to keep that maintained at 18. The term for this is 4 years. We know a little now. Remember, 2 years ago, we were having the same conversation and said, well, let's go for 2 years and see where we're at. We decided this time we know a little more about rollbacks and so on, so we decided to go for the 4 years here. You can see the 18 mills generates what it generates, 18,087,559. And again, it represents about 20% of our general fund revenue. Our general fund revenue is spent on what? It's spent on our greatest resource, our people, and our programming. So this operation mill goes towards our staffing and our programming, if you're wondering exactly what it goes towards. The second part of this, and the resolution's all one. It's operation and sinking. That's why we're talking about both at the same time. The sinking fund millage renewal, a little background about that, and I want to hit on some of those. First passed in 1996 at 1.4 mils, and it was a 10-year term. And we've passed it again two additional times. I know my very first year we were here, we had to renew it to get to the 10-year term that we're currently serving. They are subject to heavy rollbacks, and we were rolled back from 1.4 to 1.3502. And in addition to that, now technology and buses can be purchased through that, and with our technology bonds dropping off, very important that we're able to do that during the sinking fund. So this is a restoration. It's restoring it back to the 1.4 mils. If you're wondering what that cost a home owner, you can see down below. A home that's $200,000 as an example, that difference is $9 for the entire year. And you can see as it moves through, if you had a $500,000 house, it would be $24 for the entire year. So by rolling that back to the 1.4 from the 1.3502, that's what the difference would be for people. Sinking fund goes to, obviously, with this would be technology, buses, and all those things people don't like to spend money on at their house. Things like roofs, things like carpet, flooring, and so on, boilers, all those things that you go, man, I'm so glad I had to buy a roof and spend that money. So sinking funds are kind of looked at as a pay-as-you-go type thing, so they've been very popular here in Grandville and in other places. So those are the two, just a summary of the two that we have there. Do you have any questions?
Raj,
Yeah.
when we did the first review of this back 6-8 weeks ago, I think, we were going to keep it and not increase it. All the scenarios that Heather provided to us were at the current Headley limit. What is the justification for changing it?
That was the operating mill. We said we were going to keep it. We didn't say that with the sinking fund. And the main reason is because of the technology and the bus piece that's so important. By restoring that back, that little bit, as an example, $200,000 house, $9 a year, we had decided that was the one we were going to restore.
Okay.
But we did say operating millage was a true renewal, that we were just going for.
And I understood that, but
straight
when we
renewal.
went through all the different Headley changes, I do not recall that we actually stated that. The one thing that I do appreciate with this one, so for the operating millage, don't have any concerns. For this, I'm at least appreciative that you say increased, that you don't play the game of Headley. Because we are now, what, 32 years since Headley? Majority of the public do not even understand it.
Yeah. And the
So-
ballot language does say increase in there.
Which
it
is-
has to.
To me,
Legally, it has to, yeah.
is the proper way of doing it, because now you're not playing games.
Yeah.
I just don't, people don't trust government because they play games. Let's just not play games with our public. The trust is too high to
Yeah.
risk it.
Agreed, Bob.
Any other questions?
Yes, I do. So you have a firm that's going to be helping with the marketing, so to speak, of
Yes.
this. I would, because I love that graphic. I think that's a
Mhm.
very important one for people to see in terms of what
Mhm.
little
Impact.
difference that's going to be
Yeah,
from, the 1.35 to the 1.4.
yeah.
I'd really love them
Yeah,
to see that.
and we had talked about that, and we thought that's the bottom line, and people want to know that. How much is this going to cost me? And that's why we put these down, so whatever amount your house costs, you have an idea of what you're going to pay for the year.
Right, because I think sometimes it can be misconstrued that, I think, in our last meeting, wasn't the per pupil costs going to be, or the amount that we'd get per pupil was like $335 or something like that? Did that get amended?
That was, no.
That was the-
That was for the
Highest.
enhancement.
Oh, the enhancement, okay. But I think it's important that, that it's not conflated, like that the $611 doesn't mean that's what each person's gonna pay, each
Right.
household's gonna pay. I think there's
Right.
sometimes that confusion.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I'd like this graphic.
yeah, I
To
agree.
clarify
I agree,
that.
and we'll definitely use that in some of the literature we have in our discussions we have with the public.
And it's a tough thing too, because it does get confusing, because again, you're talking about taxable value, not the value of the home. You may have bought the
Right,
house, for
Right.
that, but
Right.
that may not be what your taxable value is, right? Or that may be what your house is worth now if you were
Yeah.
selling it, but that's not your taxable value because you've been in it for 20
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
But that's not, yeah, so it's
Right,
hard,
is it that
it's
way?
hard to get that out, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
because like you said, people don't understand it, to your point. So, yep. Okay. Any other questions, any other discussion? All right, you want to do a roll call on this one? Let's do that.
Vanek,
Yes.
Stefas,
Yes.
Guardian, yes. Dahan,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Wonderjum,
Yes.
Highboard.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Thank you. On 5B, the GEA agreement for 2025 through 2027. It is recommended the board ratify and officially sign the master agreement between the Grandville Education Association and the Grandville Public Schools. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
So you had in your board packet the agreement, the contract here in red. You had the changes and so on. We have Mr. Delmy here. Mr. Delmy was part of our group that met with the association with the GEA, and he's going to give you a little bit of a summary of what this agreement is.
Yeah, so kind of going into it, kind of had a goal of saying that we start that VA at around 50,000. And the step 30 rates were better aligned with local districts. We kind of match those with destination districts with that rate of pay. And we want to maintain that net increase of 2%. And so that was kind of the goal going in. And so looking at some of the highlights, as we went through that piece, we met that goal. There was an increase in that starting rate for new teachers to $50,904. And step 30 in the MA and MA plus 30 aligned with those local districts. We maintained that net increase of 2% through some reductions and new hires. We were able to maintain some rates in that Schedule B and C portion. Increased a few positions, especially in that Schedule B, Schedule B, doing some work in there. Another part of that were some highlights in that contract. We were able to build a little bit of accountability with certifications, some professional development pieces, and parent-teacher conferences with some of the language in there. And then some lead time changed. That's just kind of to match that ESTA law from PMLA. And then able to increase that amount of money allocated for tuition reimbursement for our staff, or when we get those credits. And then it's a wage reopener for 26, 27 to just account for that unknown piece of our budget, and what amounts are in the coming year. So that was kind of some of those highlights there from our conversations. We had a lot of meetings all the way from starting probably February, March until this last week.
Mike, with regard to education reimbursement, you were at like 17.2 or something like that for a semester. What did it change to?
I think I can't remember the number, I have to grab it in here. It went up.
And then how many times did we hit that number? Like staff are they requesting it?
Yeah,
They are, yes.
And are we maxing out?
I
we
think
are, yeah.
Yeah.
We're definitely, it's kind of a pool where people get their stuff in and, but yeah, we max out or close to it every time.
Okay, so are there a lot of people that lose out with this?
I would say no.
Okay, good.
There really aren't.
Good.
And we try to be, if somebody had several we try to be fair, I guess is the best way to put it, when people apply and try to make sure everybody gets something if possible.
And Bob, some of that new language actually kind of leveled that a little bit more because
Yeah.
some were getting a little bit more and a little bit less.
Right.
We try to level that, some of that new language, I mean, Morgan helps with that as well. to level
Good.
that number.
Good, good.
Is there anything that holds them here afterwards contractually? Like if we pay for
No.
a portion of that schooling?
Like in regards to.
Yeah, say we put someone through and they get their master's degree. Do they need to stay now for a year? Anything like that? No? Okay. Okay. Just curious.
You get your master's, you're probably not.
Yeah, that's what I kind of figured too, but
Slim.
you never know.
It's harder
could,
to find a
but-
position in
Yeah.
another district once you get your master's. I think.
With regard to Schedule A, how do we compare to other districts in Ottawa County?
That's one I don't know the great answer to, but to be honest, Bob, John did a lot of that work separately with those. I think that we're pretty comparable.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, we're very comparable. We're in the top tier of
Okay.
Schedule A, without question.
Okay.
Of the red items, I was surprised there was more than what I would have thought there was for changes from one to the next, but what would you say would be like if off the top of your head, like the biggest change or most would have the biggest impact of anything that's in there?
I think one of the things that were nice is having some conversations, some really good conversations about professional development. I think our conversation also about that tuition reimbursement was really good conversations in there as well. And just some understanding and some great conversation with our union also about, just building some of those relationships with our staff in regards to how do we have more accountability for certifications, how do we make sure people are doing those things they need to. I think the one component that was pretty great is looking at doing some of those compliance pieces that we have to do with, I don't remember the GNC or whatever those
Yeah.
things are, like bloodborne pathogens.
Bloodborne
all those kind of
pathogens.
things. Having that component in there and added that will be a nice piece as well, so.
Have they voted? I don't remember. Do we vote on it first before they do, or has it been passed by the staff?
We should vote first, and then they
All right.
would do the
All right.
final.
I didn't know if they'd.
Because if
do
it's not a
preliminary-
contract,
I just didn't know
why
if
are
they
they voting?
like voted ahead of time they'd agree to it or not, but I was gonna, like the question I asked last time is what percent did it pass by?
Right?
Got
it.
Tomorrow is the vote, correct?
Just curious on how happy they are with them.
I think they're very, very happy. I think our relationship is good, and they knew, and we knew this, and I told you that before, this was not an easy one, because financially, we're not in a position to give a whole lot. And I think, the groups getting together, having the dialogue and so on, came to that understanding, but there were a lot of wins that I think we were able to do to support our association, and I think they returned the favor. So I think it was a win-win, without question. There's a wage reopener after year one, so we'll see financially what happens. And have discussion. We had that ability to open that up and have the discussion then, so. But I think looking at getting our teachers to that, starting at 50,000 or above was important, and to get everything, you had to do some smoothing to get that to work. And so I think, your beginning and your end have a little more than your middle does, because the middle had a lot before. So there's a lot, some creative smoothing that happened there to make it work. So we're, very happy with our relationship with them. I know two of them are sitting right there. So very happy with the relationship and very happy with the way it went. And don't want to speak for you two, Aaron and Troy, but I think you're probably pretty happy too.
I have a question about some of the language that was included for your itinerant staff, so like your social workers, SLPs, OTs. I noticed that their special ed teachers were provided with administration time for documentation, which I think is really critical. But have you considered caseload caps for sort of all of those folks, and kind of developing something like that? Because I know that can be kind of a struggle.
There are caseload caps.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Any other discussion?
Well done.
Nice job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter.
I'd like to say that I'd like to commend Mike, John. John plays a huge role in that. Heather plays a huge role in that. Kayla did as well. I just like to commend them for the job they did, and I also would like to commend our association for continuing that great relationship that we have. So thank you very much.
All right, let's do a roll call vote.
Campbell,
Yes.
Gardine, yes. DeHaan,
Yes.
Stefas,
Yes.
Wonderjohn,
Yes.
Van Eck,
Yes.
and
Point
Highboard.
of order.
Oh, right. You're right. Bob and I have to excuse ourselves from this.
No, I don't have any
You do?
teachers in
You
this.
know, the teacher.
Oh, because your son's on the,
Yeah.
I do, yeah.
Yes. So you
I
want to
have to abstain.
Okay.
Thanks, Bob, yeah.
And Highboard.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Great, thank you. 5C, it is recommended the board ratify and officially sign the master agreement between the Grandville Educational Support Staff Association and Grandville Public Schools. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Support.
And again, Mr. Gomez here, that same group worked with our GESA contract, and he'll give us a summary of that.
Yeah, so kind of goals going in, looking at our GESA contract, is looking at increasing our recruiting by increasing starting pay rate, and honor some of those long-term employees with increases beyond that top of the scale piece. Still maintaining that increase of 2%. So again, kind of we looked at trying to going into that, their goal, we're able to reduce from 6 to 3 steps at 1% increase to help raise that starting wage. That was formally at step 4. And then we increased longevity starting at year 5, apply the hourly rate to retain employees. So we kind of hit that top one that you mentioned, of increasing recruiting and so on. We added state inspection stipend for our mechanics, which was a nice piece. And this year, our library supervisors are added to our GESA group. So just to help kind of increase their recruitment potential for them. Then, of course, we changed the lead time change to match with as the law is with PMLA. And then the same with that wage reopener for 26, 27 to account for the minimum budget upcoming year. So.
Mike, with regard to bus drivers, how do they like this?
I think we're pretty happy. They're predominantly the ones involved with our increase too, so I think they're very happy with where we're at. I think think that was some of the conversation when it came to that base pay and so on, is that retention, trying to get them to kind of stick in that job. So I think they're quite pleased. We get a lot of conversation also about folks that help out during the day, in recess and stuff, in the buildings. And they were happy with that conversation and supportive that they want more consistency of folks that are 5 days a week as opposed to a couple days and stuff. So it was good conversation. I think they were quite pleased.
Okay. Because I know we have, there's a little bit of contention. I'm just going to say a little bit, because I'm not going to go any further than that. With regard to the bus drivers, union versus non-union, and just, always want to retain staff, want them appreciative of what we're offering and trying to meet as a good employer with that.
I think they're very appreciative of our efforts as a district to try and get them some of those full-time pieces as well that came out in conversations. They're very appreciative that we look at trying to get them some opportunities to be in the schools as well, to do those hours. And they look at that as a component as well as some of those, the top end scale and working on those like longevity pieces, they're really appreciative of.
Okay. Good.
Any other questions or discussion? Great. Again, nice job. Thank you. Can we get a roll call?
You bet. Wonder Jim.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Nanette.
Yes.
Stefas.
Yes.
Gardine, yes. DeHaan.
Yes.
And Highmore.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Seeing there's no public comments, we will wrap up the meeting here. The next board meeting, the Grandville Board of Education, will be Monday, July 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m. at the Administration Building. We are adjourned.